You are now watching Maine Wire TV with your host, Tom Shattuck, featuring Maine Wire Editor-in-Chief Steve Robinson and the indispensable John Featherston.
Hey, welcome. It's Friday. It's a great day. It's been a crazy week. Again, it's been a crazy week. A good crazy week, though. Graham Pollard joins us, Steve Robinson of the Robinson Report, John Featherston. And I am Tom Shattuck. Is that Action Jackson behind you, John? What is it?
Are you old enough to remember Action Jackson, Tom?
I think it predates me, but perhaps not.
Yeah, Action Jackson kind of was the hot toy before G.I. Joe. And I was telling the younger guys before the cameras came on that I remember one birthday party that I got, we invited the neighbors and stuff, and I got an Action Jackson, and I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Like, what is this thing? And now I looked up this picture, because Troy Jackson is Action Jackson. This thing's going for like $100 on eBay. I'm like, I should have probably saved that thing. So
very nice. That is good to know. No, I was the Dukes of Hazzard were very much in when I was a younger guy. So we all bring our little red Dodge Chargers to one kid's house that had a Confederate flag on the roof of it, John, and nobody got hurt. It's a funny thing about that.
Daisy Dukes, one of the greatest memories of my lifetime. Yep.
Hey, there's a lot.
I had somewhere a picture of the Action Jackson sign that is displayed in Allagash, because I'm pretty sure he unironically gave himself that nickname as a politician. But I can tell you the good people of Allagash, I don't think, have benefited at all from having their favorite son or least favorite son or cousin, brother, because they're all related to him. I don't think they've benefited very much from having him in office, judging by the quality of the road running from Fort Kent to Allagash.
Really interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve. That brings us at a good place to start. The splash at the Maine Wire right now is really an aggregation by Steve of some of the biggest Troy Jackson stories and scandals. And we've gone piecemeal through these before on the show. I don't know ever as a group here, but this is a perfect piece to drop before a weekend. And this is ammo for everybody out there. I already hear people using the Maine Wire to come up with, well, did you know that when you thought that the oyster farmer was bad, did you know that this guy's got real estate swindling under his belt? This goes through 5 different stories, including the Allagash recount, it was a small election. This has to do with the hundreds of votes, and Troy Jackson running for office and for his select board. Can you refresh us to why he wanted to be part of the select board? He had been president of the Senate at this point.
Well, that's the big mystery that hangs over this. Why did Troy Jackson want that seat so bad? Given what we know about his career and the things that are important to him, I assume that there was like $100 or something to be made on this. Howie Carr, my boss and the guy you fill in for from time to time, Tom, he used to, one of the sayings that he attributed, I think, to Tip O'Neill, I can't remember for sure, was no deal too small.
Yeah.
As a way of explaining how corrupt town hall politics are, or state house politics, no deal too small. And I would say that goes for Allagash. So I assume that there was some piece of land or something. There was something that he wanted to, that he thought he would squeeze a couple of bucks out of. But the other thing, and this is something we haven't written much about, is after there was a land transaction up in Allagash that involved a piece of land like the size of a tennis court, not a big piece of land. But you have to understand that up in Allagash, your net worth is tied to how much land you own, because that's how many trees you can grow. And your tree lot is like your savings account, and you have that cut, you cash it in. So people are always really interested in how much land somebody owns and who owns what land. But there's a piece of land next to the fire department, and it's owned by a private individual in Allagash, but it would be really, really good and convenient for the fire department to be able to use it to park vehicles there. Again, this is the volunteer fire department in the town of Allagash, 240 people, but the road to Fort Kent sucks so bad, it's going to take a fire truck an hour to get there from Fort Kent. So everybody has an interest in making, accommodations for the fire department there. So the 3-person select board votes to trade this guy the little parcel of land next to the fire department for a separate little parcel of land somewhere else in Allagash that they own. It's just like a pure land for land swap. It's just a pure land for land swap. And this irritated Troy Jackson because he didn't like the guy who owned the land that the fire department was given because he was a Republican. So I think maybe part of this could be that he wanted to have the select board spot so that he could go back and reverse that little like postage stamp land swap that the town council before had approved, but he didn't like because it worked out to the benefit of somebody else. Who knows what the details are, but that's just an example of no deal too small. You know, there's little teeny weeny political things like that where you can get real petty. That's maybe why he was interested in that. However, I will say there's an interesting tidbit tucked away in one of those Facebook messages, Graham, that you had shared with us. I don't know. Let me see. I'm talking about the ones where he's fat.
The one that is in Comic Sans somehow? Yes. Or the Moobs one? I don't know how this guy got his Facebook in Comic Sans.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Facebook messages about Troy Jackson's tits. I'm talking about the one about him welfare shaming a constituent. Hold on a second. Let me find it. Yeah, there we go.
It's in the Slack. Yeah, these are pretty good. This was maybe from a year ago or so. We've been holding on to this.
So this message right here. So to give some setup on this, Troy, this guy Andy is trolling Troy basically publicly, and then eventually it goes into the DMs and they're screaming at each other, and Troy's accusing him of being a welfare bum, yada yada yada. I don't know if that's PC for the Democrats, making fun of somebody for being on welfare. This is a guy who's been expanding welfare, but if you look at this comment from Andy Lee Terrio, Troy Jackson, it doesn't matter what I get. You Democrats steal from taxpayers and keep it for yourselves, like that house you got from Irving. Like that house you got from Irving. Irving would not be the gas station. Irving would be J.D. Irving, a Canadian logging company that owns most of Aroostook County. They are by far the biggest landowner. They're like the mill or the coal mining market store in a small town in Appalachia. They are the corporation that hangs over everything in Allagash. Massive landowner. So I could only speculate that potentially the select board chair in Allagash might have something that J.D. Irving would have an interest in.
But Steve, while you have that screenshot, can you put the do you cry when Trump fucks you?
Hey, come on! Whoa. Kids are listening to this. Let's keep this PC.
Wow. I mean, if I'm being honest, this one might some of the Dems like Troy even more. But in a normal world of politics, this might be a story.
How do you?
I think Troy. I don't want to judge or make assumptions, but he strikes me as somebody who might have a couple of pops, once in a while, and get on to Facebook and let people know how he really feels. Maybe a little uninhibited with his social media posts. But yeah.
And a man can't have a cold one after a day of logging, Steve.
Yeah. If I'm wondering really though, when was the last time Troy fired up a chainsaw? But yeah, the other Facebook posts that we went through don't have so much to do with his role on the select board. We sent out one today that is messages that his son Chase, the lobbyist, the very, very successful, very smart, politically astute lobbyist, an exchange he had with someone running the Maine Legislative Man Boobs Conference. Graham, I don't know, you're the one who came up with the records from the Maine Legislative Man Boob Conference. I haven't seen them registered as a PAC or anything.
No, I haven't seen that either. Yeah, the page
Can you tell us more about the Man Boob Conference?
I think, unfortunately, the same thing that happened to my personal account happened to this guy a couple years ago, because this guy runs like 5 or 6 different Maine politics parody accounts, and one of them is this Maine legislative man boobs, and it's just kind of dumb photos of a bunch of fat guys in the Maine legislature, which is maybe the one thing that descends party is the man boobs situation among the the people in the legislature. But Chase Jackson's son, apparently a little insecure about his weight, or Troy Jackson's son, Chase Jackson, apparently a husky individual back in the day, has shed some lbs and was not too thrilled with a photo of himself getting shared on this, a photo of Troy getting shared on this, and lashes out in a petulant tirade to the creator, the anonymous creator of the Man Boobs of Maine Facebook page.
Now,
it's a great article that Steve has up with the screenshots.
Do we think that this
it's a great article that Steve has up with the screen?
Do we think that this is a glow up, like an all natural glow up on Chase's part, or
this was pre-Ozempic, I believe, actually.
Okay. Okay. So here are some of the messages, but this is the screenshot of the page. The RIP to the Maine Legislative Man Boob Coalition. But these are the DMs that were shared. I guess I feel bad for Chase. I wonder if in Democratic circles does this kind of sad sack BS work? Like, is this how he's able to get his way, by talking about his emotional childhood trauma?
Oh no, is that what he's doing? I can't read it.
So all right, I'll let me see if can I zoom in? Yeah, there we go. So this is Chase Jackson. Hi, I don't know who you are or why you've chosen to make this page. And if this was the Howie Carr show, I'd be asking for some violin music. If we could cue that up, just imagine sad violin music here. And the fact that you've made it makes me guess you're doing it irrespective of anyone's feelings. But I would like to ask you to remove the posts featuring me, if not also those featuring my father. I have been overweight most of my life and carry a lot of emotional baggage from growing up embarrassed and made fun of for it. I cannot believe that at the age of 30, I'm being publicly body shamed by you. Please remove these childish posts and leave me and others alone. You certainly have the right to make critiques of public figures, but making fun of people's body images in public in embarrassing ways goes against basic decency and is so cruel.
That's amazing.
So this was his first attempt, by the way. This was his first attempt, and the response, I don't know whether this was automated or if the guy's just continuing to screw with him, but then says, thanks for contacting us, and we've received your message. Appreciate you reaching out. Follow us for great insights on growing your new man boobs. So the conversation quickly escalates, and the sad sack thing goes away in favor of Chase Jackson saying, hey, whatever, man, if being a total bleeping loser and a keyboard coward is how you pass the time in your parents' basement, go for it.
Here we go.
And then he threatens to fight him a couple of times, calls him a big loser. And then this is my favorite thing. This is going to be a t-shirt. You ever even run a canoe in a motor? Like that's...
I think there's actually a video of him running a canoe in a motor somewhere too, Troy Jackson. I was trying to find it.
Which is great. Maybe if he paddled instead of running the motor, he wouldn't have those moves. You know what I'm saying?
Great point.
The canoe has other ways of getting around. But I just love that as like the challenge of ultimate manlyhood or manliness. Like, you ever run a canoe with a motor?
That's not a brag. That's a terrible. Even I know that a canoe is a paddling vessel.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can put a motor on a canoe. It's less common, I would say, than just paddling. But the fact that he thinks that that's a challenge. You ever changed a spare tire, bro? You ever driven a car with an engine? Anyways.
No, it's terrible. He's okay. So the kid's not all right, is what I'm getting. And then this, to me, tells me that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, I guess.
Yeah, and some people might say, "Oh, it's his son. Like, leave that out of politics." But first of all, no.
You're not going to expand at all, Steve? Just no.
No, just no.
No.
I am that petty. No, I had no more. I had no more there. There was no. I mean, I suppose you could argue that he's a lobbyist and he's the bag man for the Jackson family. If he's the one taking the $50,000 for the gun control lobby right before his dad switches positions, then I think he's part of Jackson Inc. But just no.
Well, Steve, another interesting tidbit here. The other post that Troy Jackson did from Troy Jackson's account, that was something like Trump humpers are the modern day stormtroopers. The person who sent me that believed that was supposed to be from Chase Jackson to him, who accidentally posted it from Troy Jackson's account and then quickly deleted it. So I can't confirm that, obviously, but that would indicate that Chase Jackson is running the illustrious Facebook page of Troy Jackson, if that is true.
Could be the case. Could be the case. I mean, it's a family business. You know, politics is a family business, and I think that goes up a generation too. You know, I've been told that Papa Jackson's got some brand new equipment sitting in his front yard, courtesy of a taxpayer-funded grant. You know, I think it's there's a lot of different places where you can hide resources if you've been in politics for 26 years.
I thought Troy was older than he is. I mean, he quite obviously dyes his hair, but I thought he was older. Not that,
Look, I mean, you get on your fifth or sixth pacemaker, it ages you a little.
Has he really had that many? Wow.
Yeah, I think he's on his fifth pacemaker, but that's not totally unusual. The pacemakers have to be replaced.
Yeah, but still, he's only in his 50s, so I mean,
I thought he was 71. Troy Jackson? Didn't I just read that he was 71?
No, he's not 71.
No, he's not 7. No, see, I thought he was older too, but he's in his 50s. I was reading, yeah. So
I thought it was in a Maine Liar post somewhere.
No, he's definitely not 71. He'd be looking great as a 71-year-old. So he was young, coming up in Allagash, and there was this moment where people were angry at Canada, and he led people driving their skidders to like blockade a road in from Canada and got some press for it. And so began his political career. And then he was, Republican conservative state lawmaker endorsed by the Christian Civic League, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-rural sportsman culture. And the rest is history. He evolved to meet the political moment that would be best for his wallet and his climb to power. So he ends his career as the pro 9-month abortion, can't even bring himself to vote in favor of a moratorium on trafficking dead baby parts.
So what are the chances here? Let me throw this out. I'm going to put it at like 2%, but I want to run it by you guys. What are the chances that the Maine Dems pull a Lewiston City Council of Chrissy Noble and do the pump fake and put the Sandra Pelletier lady as the nominee, who nobody knows about, but I've heard she's kind of sharp. I got a DM from somebody that said she's known her for forever, and she is would be pretty formidable.
I'll say she's certainly acting like she's a viable candidate here. I got a text message yesterday, join Sandra, blah, blah, blah. I got a phone call, an automated phone call for the town hall last night to try to join and listen to her. Did not join, but another text message followed up today. It's Sandra. Over 49,000 Mainers joined that teletown hall last night.
Ooh, what? There's no way that's true.
I'm going to put
49,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine that. That means she probably had to call every single person with a telephone in the state to get a response rate high enough for people to join that call. But either she's just setting her money on fire, or she thinks there's a chance. I am going to lean towards money setting on fire. I think she has zero chance of being a nominee.
I agree. Yep. Nope.
I put it at 2%. And if it does happen, I'm taking all of the credit for predicting this. So I'm just going to throw that out there ahead of time.
Yeah, that's all right. And when it doesn't happen, no one will ever remember it.
But this letter by Rep. White is fascinating to me. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what did we get to that, John? Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, I think he has a case if a Maine judge doesn't get his hands on it. I mean, because you could literally the case is that there's a law, 21A, saying that you can't, you can't be a sore loser candidate. You didn't win one race, so you jump in another race. And I think, you just go, Your Honor, all I have to present for evidence is the ballot. It's got Graham Plattner and Troy Jackson's name on the same ballot. Like, in a reasonable judge, which might be hard to find in Maine, would go, well, you're right. Their names are both on the ballot. Jackson is not eligible under this. And, Bellows, I can almost guarantee is I never got that letter. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? But I think White has a very solid case here.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so, I don't think that Secretary Bellows even responds to this.
No,
and I don't really think she has to, because if you read the statute right before the text of the one that Representative White cites, it expressly says that it doesn't apply in this situation, because he's being nominated to fill a vacancy, not signing up to run for office. And
is he eligible for that nomination? Though?
But he's the statute before it makes clear that it doesn't apply.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it like, if you look just at the statute that he cited, it's that could be the case, but the statute immediately before it makes it clear that this doesn't apply in this circumstance. So
my take on this is that this could be the most sound legal argument of all time that Representative James White is making here, and it wouldn't matter because
exactly. Well, there's that too. The law doesn't really matter when you have an attorney general who's busy banging the help and a secretary of state who's an amoral robot.
Well, Steve's hitting the ball out of the park today.
Hey, Matt, can we go to the check-in with my friend Devin? It's on the Maine Wire TV.
I don't think I've seen this.
Tom, you ask her if I can go to the party tomorrow when you see her?
I don't want you there, John.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. How many times did she say transparent here?
Checking in live from Bangor, Maine, where we are setting up for our special nomination convention that will be tomorrow, where we will welcome Democrats from every single corner of our state, all 16 counties here in Bangor, to elect our next U.S. Senate nominee. You can also watch the entire convention live on our website, mainedems.org. We cannot wait to see you all. We can't wait to keep up the energy. We cannot wait to beat Susan Collins in November. Let's go, Maine. Hi, Maine.
It's not really an election.
Better. Look at Tom.
Yeah.
He's flustered. His girl is, doing such a great video. He's flustered. Yeah, flustered.
I was actually looking to see what the shirt said under Independent Democrats, and it does say Maine. Is that a thing? Is that a branding thing that you know something about?
I've never seen it before, but I'll say she's getting better. That they're definitely watching Maine Wire TV because they're responding to our criticism.
Yeah,
definitely gotten better. Yeah.
Charlie Dingbat is not looking so much like he's in a Vietnamese dungeon, and they've stopped the jump cuts. I don't know how many.
Last night, it's like, dude, button your shirt before you go do a video. I'm like,
they're never together. Charlie Dingbat and Devin are never together. Devin and the MK woman do videos together all the time. I haven't heard anything recently, but I heard a while ago that Devin and Charlie Dingbat are not big fans of each other. So,
Wow. Breaking news. Drama in the Democrat House.
Just aesthetically, though, if you have
aesthetically gives you a good cover for whatever you're about to say. It's good. It's good. It's polite. It's nuanced. It's sophisticated. Maybe a little French. Go on, though.
You have her. Don't you have her so you don't have to use him? I mean, he can put out statements or why is he polluting the site? If you've imported a blonde from a TikTok girl from Florida, then she's your guy, right?
Well, it's a 1-2 punch. Charlie brings the seriousness, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the gravitas. It's like the Obama-Biden ticket. Obama was the riz and the pizzazz.
Right.
Biden had the gravitas.
It's the depth.
Yes.
So Tom, you had one of the best tweets of 2026. Why is this man talking to a ceiling fan?
I know. It was unbelievable.
That was a great tweet.
That was tough. It's I'm not really sure what they're doing.
Charlie was taking a break from his busy boutique lobby lawyer job defending Medicaid fraudsters.
Okay. Okay, so as far as the Troy Jackson stuff goes, what's of the 5 things you mentioned today in the splash in the Maine Wire, what's the most serious thing that if you're his campaign, you're worried about?
Well, I think they're all something to worry about in a different way, right? So for one, the BIW shakedown, like that just shows, that kind of shoots to what a dummy he is. Like this guy actually thought that he was going to be able to shake down $1 billion defense contractor in a letter that literally said, it'd be unfortunate if we had to, come along and mess with your tax breaks. So that I think speaks to his judgment, and who knows what else he's put in writing. I mean, the Facebook posts and the Facebook direct messages, unlike the trove of Reddit posts that we have for Graham Plattner, who knows what other kinds of DMs that the Maine Wire could be sitting on or could receive at some point in the future. But the Great Potato Shakedown, I think, could have more serious implications, because this is a story that I don't think has been told fully yet, in part because the McCrums, who you can see there posing with Senate President Jackson, they haven't come out and spoken about it on the record. And just to give a brief background of what happened, back in 2020, Sue McCrum, Sue McCrum and Jay McCrum ran Penobscot McCrum, big potato processing facility. They were opening up another facility in Washburn, in Aroostook County. It's like the only big job producer in that area, very big deal. And these guys are a Maine institution. And Troy introduced and passed a piece of legislation that wasn't written to say the McCrums are going to get a tax break, but it was written to say any investment between this dollar amount and this dollar amount happening during this time period and this time period in a new food processing facility in this area is going to get a tax break. So it was written narrowly enough so that it only applied to Penobscot McCrum. And I have since gone back and confirmed in the Maine Revenue Service records that they are the only business that took advantage of this. So he writes, he gives them this lucrative tax break, which, who knows, maybe it's great policy to incentivize this kind of thing, and they wouldn't have done it without the tax break, whatever. It's worth between $15 to $30 million over a decade. So it's a pretty serious tax break. And then, several months go by, and Sue McCrum throws her hat in the ring to run for a state Senate seat up in Aroostook County, currently held by Senator Trey Stewart. Before the paperwork even becomes public that she has filed to run, she's already filed to withdraw from the race. So there we've got a conundrum and a mystery. Why would Sue McCrum, serious person, wealthy family, very well-known, very credible candidate, why would she file to run for a state Senate seat and then immediately withdraw? She's not answering. She's not saying anything. And then eventually the story emerges that just like BIW got a letter that said, it would be unfortunate if we had to look at this tax credit. Just a few months after that BIW letter went out, Troy had called Jay McCrum upon learning that Sue McCrum was running for that seat and said, it'd be unfortunate if we had to go back and look at this tax credit here. The threat was real enough so that Sue immediately decided to stop running. Now, in true Troy Jackson fashion, this entire thing spectacularly backfires on him. Trey Stewart declares for the seat, runs, wins, and you still have a Republican there who has subsequently won re-election to that seat. And you've got like a young, energetic lawyer in the seat. But the reason why I think that Troy should worry about this one more is because I checked the FEC records, and Sue McCrum has been donating to Susan Collins since 2002. And she's hosted fundraisers for Paul LePage, donated to Paul LePage. So Sue and Jay McCrum might not have been willing to come out and talk about this shakedown that Troy Jackson ran on them, which could have been illegal, by the way. There are statutes on the books in Maine. It's called like a public interference or official interference or something like that. There are statutes on the books. Again, we have Aaron Fry banging the help. Not a chance he's ever going to actually enforce the laws equitably. But this could be a big deal for him, especially if Sue McCrum sits down for a 30-second ad and talks about Troy Jackson bullying well-known potato farmers in Aroostook County. I think that could be a very powerful ad. And the last thing I would say on it is the McCrums recently sold Penobscot McCrum to McCain Foods. So Troy has no pain point on them. Even if he were to win this Senate election, I suppose he could pass a Bernie Sanders style wealth tax and come pilfer their money or send his thug son to beat them up. But he does not have leverage over them like he did when he was Senate president. So I would anticipate that you'll see Sue McCrum telling her story in an advertisement or to a media outlet.
You bring up a good point about, like a wealth tax, and, it's not being talked about now, but when Jackson was running for governor, he wanted to double the millionaires tax that was just now put in place. So this guy's going to try to run as anti-establishment, but, can we bring up his campaign platform for when he ran for governor? I mean, this guy's trouble. I mean, this guy's a walking contradiction as well, but I mean, he's trouble. I mean, he's a tax and spender, and how is he going to help Maine if he's just he wants to drive more millionaires out? He wants to get rid of people who support ICE. This guy's he's just a fraud.
Speaking of a walking contradiction, John, Joe Baldacci put out something today that it was basically like a legislative algorithm scorecard that tallied how effective certain legislators are at getting bills passed. And Troy is actually number one on that chart, which is generally speaking a good thing. But when he was on the stage with Graham Plattner and Bernie, his entire campaign speech was about how he was the most vetoed legislator because the insiders in Washington didn't want to put up with the, super progressive bills that he was pushing. So just total bullshit on that one, which is, a small anecdote, but a pretty funny one.
What doesn't get talked a lot about too is Janet Mills does not like Troy Jackson and vice versa. So what's the background on that, Steve?
Well, I mean, they're just two big egos who are trying to, have their way in Augusta. And I think a lot of it boils down to Janet Mills just hates unions. I mean, it didn't get enough attention, I think, in part because the Maine Wire was continually breaking the stories about the state workers union and their beef with Janet Mills, and the other outlets, would just not cover it because we got the scoop. But Janet Mills, in some ways, was worse for the state workers union than Paula Page. I mean, I don't know that they ever filed a Maine Labor Relations Board complaint against Paula Page. Maybe they did, and I just don't remember it. But she was not in favor of the unions in the same way Jackson is. Jackson is totally in favor of the unions because they've been his political foot soldiers. The problem he has is that Maine's just not a union state. There's the government union and the teachers union are big for sure. So the public sector unions are big, but in terms of the private sector unions in Massachusetts, like the pipe fitters union, it's big. The electrical union, they're big.
Oh, huge.
Up here, they're just not, because a lot of our large construction companies, almost all of our large construction companies are employee owned. And that's just better for everybody, better for the employees. It's a better functioning company. And to the extent that you have labor, like project labor agreements in construction projects up here, all the workers come from Massachusetts because our AFL-CIO unions can't even fill most of the construction jobs. That's what would have happened with the offshore wind turbine port. So he's a big union guy. Janet Mills, not so much. That could be part of the beef. Could also be they just, two personalities that butt heads. But it's not inconceivable that Janet Mills endorses Susan Collins in this race at some point. I don't think that would really matter. I mean, I was thinking a remarkable thing about this whole process is that Janet Mills has just been brushed aside like a stinky bag of shit. There was never even an impulse among any Democrat in the state that Janet Mills would be the person who replaces Graham Plattner. Think about how stunning that is. She's the two-term governor, won re-election handily. She was the other candidate in the Senate primary, didn't stand a chance against Plattner, but no one even thought to recruit her or pressure her or draft her to run. She didn't even think about trying to throw her hat in the ring for this. Just basically everybody just kind of assumed that she was worthless and not the best candidate to run. That's remarkable to me. Like the fact that Democrats just threw her away as soon as she was no longer useful for their trans stuff and abortion and tax bills, whatever, they just threw her to the side. Amazing.
You know what was fascinating to me? The last day they were in session up in Augusta. Mills went into the the House chamber, and when she gave her little goodbye speech, and she shook hands with most of the Republicans. She didn't shake hands with anybody on the Democrat side of the room, and I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. I'm like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? She wasn't shaking, and that doesn't mean she hasn't had follow-up conversations with them, but rumor has it from very reliable sources she's not at the State House much, if at all. And is she furious at the Democrat Party? And I could make the case that she has the right to be furious at the Democrat Party. They stabbed her in the back. She sold her soul to carry their woke agenda, and then, like you said, she's a stinky bag of what now. So I mean,
I don't
got to be pissed. She's got to be pissed.
She was so unenthusiastic, and you hear that it ticked off the Dems in Washington D.C. that she wasn't doing anything, and she's got the she's got the executive branch there. I mean, every day could have been viral campaigning in the name of just watching the governor do her job.
But the problem is the people around her just aren't talented.
Yeah. That I can guarantee.
They haven't had to do their jobs for 8 years. They haven't had to do anything for 8 years because there's no potent Republican resistance. There's no press that's actually they are asking questions except for us, and all they'll do is shake our hands and say, "Oh, we'll get back to you." She's never had to have a tough interview. The 2022 campaign was kind of overwhelmed by Roe v. Wade. That really bailed her out. But they've never had to do those, the moments where you're using your position as governor to help stir a media narrative that is favorable to you. And also, I've been thinking about this, but what is better in Maine after 8 years of Janet Mills and Democrats with total control of the legislature?
Well, her vote for me checks are going to start going out next week. So,
okay, yeah. I mean, I guess you can say. Yeah, I mean, you can.
Does Troy Jackson cross out Mills and just put from Troy Jackson on? Do they negotiate that?
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
I was seriously trying to rack my brain and come up with what is the defense to the Ronald Reagan thing is. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? No. Very, very common campaign tactic when you're running against an incumbent regime, Bobby Charles is running against an incumbent regime. You can say that Republicans are in control in Washington, D.C. Sure, but the Blaine House has more impact over your life if you're living in Maine. That's just a fact. Taxes, quality of life, needles in the park, energy costs, that's all coming from the Blaine House. So what is better after 8 years of Democrats having just complete unmitigated control over all policies?
Well, if you own
abortion, trans stuff, energy, they did everything they wanted to. So what got better?
If you own a needle company, your sales went up. If you're a trans,
Maine Wire did well.
Your rights went up. Maine Wire went up. Yeah. So
if you own a paper bag company, it's a good time to be a paper bag supplier.
Yeah.
Were the rats helped in Portland?
I mean, for actual Mainers who live in this state, there's all kinds of jokes that you can tell about it, but I actually mean
nothing.
Really, if you're the Democratic strategist and you're trying to market Hannah Pingree's time at GoPiff, and you're going to explain to the people of Maine, you've got to make a 60-second or 2-minute long YouTube video about something GoPiff did under Hannah's leadership that really, really improved the lives of Mainers. What are you doing?
Well, but we talk about it here a lot, unfortunately. Where are the Republicans with this messaging? Nothing is better in the last 8 years. And if you reelect Hannah Pingree, you can extend that out to 12 years. Like,
Right.
like I don't see that, being, you should be clubbing him like a seal with that. Like what are we doing here? Like nothing in the last 8 years has helped any Mainer, rich, poor, middle class, upper middle class, nothing. But I don't hear that messaging coming in this upcoming election. I mean, you got 3 months, guys. Giddy up, let's go.
I honestly think instead of spending $800,000 on TV ads, they should spend $800,000 on just like giving everyone in Portland a vacation to Nashville, Tennessee, or something like that, just so you can compare how much better some other cities are than Portland, Maine. It is stunning when you go into Portland how much of a disaster it is.
I mean,
yeah, it is.
Wouldn't you say, if you're a Democrat, wouldn't you just say that they've protected reproductive rights? And
but reproductive rights were never threatened.
They were never in jeopardy. Yeah.
Yeah, like in 2022. In 2022, okay, so Roe v. Wade gets reversed. Maine's policy stays where it is. Governor Paul LePage running for office, his policy is we don't want to change the rules that have governed Maine for 30 years, which was it was like in 1993 they passed a viability threshold, and Janet Mills' position was the exact same. In the 2022 gubernatorial election, both of them had the exact same policy position on abortion, which was don't touch the law. This is a fair compromise. It's there's a point of viability, a general recognition that you don't want to be killing babies when they're 8-9 months into the womb. Actually, I think it ends up being like 3 or 4 months long. But anyways, that was their position. They both had the same exact position on abortion. Now, of course, Janet Mills was lying the entire time. Planned Parenthood was running and funding her campaign, and within months, she totally reversed course and supported the most extreme abortion law ever conceived of, and that is now the law that reigns. But no one's access to abortion has changed except for maybe people from Massachusetts or Connecticut or some other state where you can't abort an 8.5-month-old baby. They'll come to Maine for that procedure now, I suppose. But
abortion.
So yeah, I suppose you can say Planned Parenthood. Abortions are up. They are, but it's all abortion tourism. It's not voters who, like no one was going to reduce access to abortion. Unfortunately, there should have been at least some policy around reducing the demand for abortions. You don't need to do it in a coercive way, but you would think that a Republican could run on some kind of policy that would, improve economic circumstances, improve availability of contraception, and reduce the demand for abortions without having to force anyone to carry a child to term. But our Republicans aren't that creative. By the way, this chart, I mean, this is brought to you by the people who are talking about affordability right now. Like the Democrats.
Hannah Pingree is literally in charge of housing policy.
Correct.
Her job under the Mills administration was GoPIF, but specifically housing. And she's talking about it on the campaign trail. She's got her affordable housing plan. She's been in charge of housing. And I said this before in the show, I still think that probably the most underrated story that didn't get enough national media was when Hannah Pingree, Janet Mills, and a couple state legislators went to like Scarborough or something to do the ribbon cutting of a new affordable housing unit that was 8 units that were like 400 square feet and like $2,500 a month.
It was Biddeford. Yeah, it was in Biddeford.
Yeah. Shockingly bad. And it was 8 units they were bringing online. Like, congratulations. 8 really expensive units, and they considered that affordable housing under, I guess, their housing policy.
How many new Mainers got those houses?
And then, the new Mainers, but also they'll say, okay, yes, we need to address the affordability problem. So it's time for us to create a special fund derived from a tax on real estate transfers to, build housing. This, in addition to like the 6 or 7 other funds that we've had forever. Like, how many different funds do we need before the housing problem is solved? And if these funds were solving the housing problem, wouldn't there be some evidence by now? And also, Maine has, I don't know if you guys have driven very far around Maine, but there are hundreds of thousands of houses. There are houses everywhere, and most of them are older than 30 years. Most of them are older than these funds. How did we get houses before the state of Maine, before GoPIF? How did we ever find, how did they build houses in Maine before GoPIF came along to save us?
Well, I go to these housing meetings in Portland all the time, and the two things always come up: tax credits, and the inclusionary zoning. And it's like, why is the first word out of everybody's mouth tax credits? Like, like hey, survive. If you're a good developer, to build your own building and stuff. And this inclusionary zoning that's like in
there you go, Steve.
It has just crippled the housing industry in like the Portland area. Like, exclusionary zoning, like you're going to let some guy who sits behind the desk and doesn't know what day it is, decide, what, character of your city's going to look like. I mean, and everybody's afraid to get rid of exclusionary zoning because somebody might actually come in and make a profit. It's like that man bun guy that you showed last week, Tom, saying that, oh, it's not in the Constitution that, landlords can make a profit. Well, yeah. Hey, Einstein, landlords need to make a profit to be able to afford to build another, housing unit. And there's nothing wrong with somebody making and if you don't fix the middle class housing problem, because you don't need more low income housing, everybody. I don't care how many meetings I go to when people tell me you do. You need more middle class housing. And to Steve's point, if you could do it 30 years ago, why can't you do it today?
And I'll say, this right here, every time a Chinese drug dealer moves into your neighborhood and buys a place for 20% over asking, every time a Central African Medicaid scammer buys a house to turn it into an autism center, and they can pay 20% over asking because they're going to be making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, a month off of that property, it drives up the costs for everyone.
Yep.
And it also drives up the cost of property taxes for everybody. As we saw with that woman in Noblesboro. We haven't done a story on it yet because I ended up talking to the town office in Noblesboro, and it turns out that this property tax bill was a fat finger trade on the part of the some office clerk. So this bill has been abated, but can you imagine getting this in the mail for your property tax bill?
I had the pleasure of running into her the other day. I was out in Lincoln, and she came.
Nope. Did we lose John?
We lost John. That was a dramatic sentence.
Yeah,
but Steve, that median income chart you had, a little deceiving because that doesn't really tell the full picture with interest rates at like 6.5% to 6%. And then you got the highest electricity rates almost anywhere. So the actual cost of ownership is really, in 2018 interest rates were 2.5%, 3%. Now they're what, 5.5%, 6% or something. I mean, I bought a house last year. It was 6.8% is my interest rate, which is just insane. So
yeah, I mean, we could
totally
show we could show the price, but I was focusing on that and the interest rate rather. I was focusing on that because the interest rate is
it's just everything. It's just everything, right?
Well, everything, but also the interest rate is not something that you can blame on government policy.
No, of course not. But a $300,000 house in 2018 compared to a $400,000 house in 2026, the monthly payment difference with the 4% difference in interest rate is shocking. So, it's a dramatic chart, but even that chart in reality is underselling the level of capital investment you need to actually purchase a house nowadays. And then, I mean, electricity costs is like, you're paying $400 a month in Maine for electricity or more. So
yeah, and then the heating costs. Yeah. Can we explain exactly how this place was assessed at $8 million?
So they told me that it was a keying entry. So for the viewers and listeners, what we're looking at is a real estate tax bill that a woman in Noblesboro received. The property, she paid, I think, like $350,000 for it. It was revalued last year to $600,000, and so her property tax bill was like $5,000, which is already insane. Yeah. And this year she gets a tax bill for $94,000. So the nice ladies at the town office tell me this was a keying entry. They did something wrong. But the real story for me is, so Nobleboro got across the board 18% property tax increase. And the way they arrived at that is they have instead of having human real estate assessors who go around and assess value, it's all done by a computer program now. So there's a computer program that's going to look at the sales data for your entire town and then adjust the value of your property upward. So again, when the Medicaid fraud scammers running residential care fraud come into your town and they can pay whatever they want, I mean, they can pay $100,000 over asking price. It doesn't matter to them because it's a property that's going to generate, $30,000 to $60,000 a month in revenue for them. So they can afford to way overpay, just like the Chinese marijuana growers. When they come in and pay a ridiculous price for the property, your property taxes automatically go up. And the state legislature, totally controlled by Democrats, voted to remove a cap on property tax rate increases that had been in place since the early 2000s. So this is like her tax bill might not be, it's going to go, it's an error and it's going to go away. But there's still the fact that an 18% increase went out for all of Nobleboro as a result of a computer program. And those increases are all allowed because Democrats did away with the cap on municipal tax increases.
And you don't hear any Republican talking about it.
No, you don't. And the Maine Republican Party is $15,000 in debt. The House Republican Fund has like $90,000 in it. And I guess they still have time to spend it. But I know that there are some reps, wondering when the air support's going to come in. And the Senate Republican Party, for their part, seems decently well funded. But if you compare it to the Democratic, versions of that, the Senate Democrat Fund and the House Democrat Fund, both of those have tons more money. And those funds, by the way, automatically kick to the Maine Democratic Party because all of the Democrats running these committees, they trust each other and they all pool their money. Whereas on the Republican side, everybody's fighting for their 15% clip on how that money is going to be spent.
I pray this doesn't happen, but it's going to be a reality that we're going to have to talk about in a couple months. With the Iran war so unpredictable right now and electricity rates so high, you're going to have senior citizens that are going to have to decide between food and staying warm. And you're going to have, because I saw it in Massachusetts when I was a housing commissioner, people freezing to death in their own house, because you just can't afford. Who can afford an 18% increase in their property?
No.
Nobody. And then, a increase in your electric bill, and then your, oil is going to be, expensive this winter for everybody. And, once again, is anybody talking about this? Is anybody doing anything about it?
New construction is going to happen in the Portland Compact Zone. Rural Maine can't justify the investment without industry in those areas. Sounds right to me.
Totally.
Yeah,
fair.
maybe data centers. We could have data centers. Or data centers and nuclear power instead of these stupid windmills and solar panels. Those could provide some jobs, I would think. But it's like, is the cost of living, the taxes, electricity rates are all higher in Maine than in other normal states. But is the electricity you're getting better? No, it's intermittent. If anything, it's worse. We're going to have more power outages.
And what's that 18% increase in your property taxes going to? You're getting 18% better public services? Absolutely not. It's just a giant
the schools
scam.
are going to shit. The higher property taxes go, the worse schools become.
You have the paid family leave, which is I'm calling the Paid Protesting Act, which is a 1% tax off of every paycheck that you get. You've got the 31 other taxes and fee increases. And then it doesn't even include the property taxes. So everything that they have done over the last 8 years has made the state extremely unaffordable. And that's why no young person wants to live in Bangor or Lewiston, and they're going to college in Florida or wherever, and then they're staying down there. And you're having this mass exodus of the youth out of the state of Maine, because why the hell would you live in Maine? Just, why would you do that to yourself?
By the way, I just throw that one up there to show electricity usage has not changed in Maine. and yet the price is still going up. There's not a lot of goods where that is the case. And you would think that if you could get electricity cheap in Maine, then data centers and a whole bunch of other industry would make a lot more sense to build in Maine, because you could buy land up in Millinocket. We've got something like 50 or 60 industrial size warehouse buildings like the Dexter Shoe Building in my hometown of Dexter that sit completely empty. You could very easily find someone to fill that with server racks and then provide jobs to people who are their computer engineers, their electrical engineers, they're maintaining these server farms. You could do that if electricity wasn't so expensive in Maine. It's prohibitively expensive to run businesses that are electricity intensive in the state. And so instead, we're just going to sell these buildings to the Chinese and let them grow big, cannabis slave plantations in them.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems is, and I just want to throw this up quickly, is that you've got your representatives, Shelley Pingree, who have just turned into anti-Trump Instagram influencers rather than doing anything. And, this is a microcosm because she does every day. There's like 40 things. It doesn't matter what Trump does. She'll find a way to hate on Trump. But I mean, this one was so ridiculous that I just had to talk about it, because she is comparing basically the U.S. allowing Saudi Arabia the tools to create a nuclear power plant and comparing that to Iran and saying this is a new low for Trump because Trump doesn't want Iran to get nukes. So it's insane that Saudi Arabia is getting nukes. Well, one obvious problem with this theory, Shelley Pingree, is that the leader of Iran chants death to America every single time he goes out and does the mosque. And Saudi Arabia is probably becoming one of our key and strongest allies in that region. The other problem is that we signed like a $3 trillion AI deal with Saudi Arabia. And they all complain about data centers in America. They don't want the data centers in America. So, we're going to give Saudi Arabia the ability to put the data centers over there and, keep the AI within a U.S. alliance and not go out to China or Russia or Iran. But Shelley Pingree calls this batshit crazy. So, there's no real thought behind any of this. It's just Trump is doing something. So we need to just instinctively oppose it and make it sound as, fascist and dramatic as you possibly can, for the brief Instagram clicks, rather than actually doing anything to help the citizens of Maine or help Maine get better at any of the things that we were just talking about over the last 30 minutes.
That honestly is, and this happens on the Republican side too, but it's the problem with gerrymandered districts that are so safe that a politician never has to work for anything. Like, I am all for having districts be hyper competitive between the parties, because when Shelley Pingree, like when she gets in a seat where there's just no scenario where she could be like Dianne Feinstein in a wheelchair, like half dead, plugged into a ventilator, and she's still going to win re-election because that's how safe that district is. As a result of that, she can spend her time like howling on Instagram about Trump. If she was in a more competitive district, she wouldn't be able to do that. Or if, heaven forbid, she belonged to a party where there were primary challenges, where there was like an intellectually honest Democrat who said, you know what, whatever Shelley Pingree is doing doesn't exactly fit the whole let's help working people, let's help poor people mantra of the Democratic Party. Like, where did that Democratic Party go? Like, how did that disappear? It used to be that there was this slant of like economic Democrats who wanted to help working people, wanted to help poor people, but now you've got this very like the PhD elite woke nonsense that does nothing whatsoever to help poor people. And even like I saw Jordan Wood, the former Senate candidate turned former congressional candidate turned former Senate candidate, who's now falling in line with all of the Democrats who I'm sure privately he hates and loathes, in defending them and claiming that the birth center at a hospital in Lincoln closed because of Susan Collins. I'm not even sure I follow exactly what his argument is, but the rural hospitals in Maine are all closing because of Medicaid expansion, which was a policy that Troy Jackson championed. Troy Jackson was in favor of Medicaid expansion for years. Janet Mills did it as her first act in office. And it's something like 40% of births in Maine are to Medicaid covered families. and Medicaid does not reimburse at sustainable rates. So the large hospitals are the only ones who can really stay in business. They accept Medicaid patients as a condition of being allowed to operate as nonprofits and, you know, pay their board and their staff $1 million salaries, but they lose money on Medicaid every year. You can go look at the Form 990 for Maine Health or Northern Light. They'll have a little line right there where it tells you how many tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars they're losing on Medicaid. And it's particularly acute with births because, again, 40% of births are on Medicaid. That's why rural hospitals are closing. That's why birthing centers are closing. Yet they're all defending Medicaid expansion and now talking about Medicare for all, which is like, how, to somebody tell me, please, how is Medicare for all different from Medicaid for all? And are we going to, after we get Medicare for all and it continues to ruin all of our healthcare, what's after that?
It's a great point, Steve. It goes back to what you were saying, what we've all been saying about the Republicans being terrible at messaging, because I'm seeing tons of people fall for this just on all these Facebook pages. Susan Collins is, because of Susan Collins, all these rural hospitals are closing. I mean, let's just put the policies aside for a second. She is the one singular Republican in the entire state with any bit of influence. You've got the Democrat or the governor is Democrat, the Senate is Democrat, the House is Democrat, all the local governors of the big cities are Democrat. But Susan Collins gets the blame for this. Shelley Pingree is a Democrat. Jared Gold is a Democrat, but Susan Collins gets the blame for it. It's like, let's put a little bit of critical thinking here, people. But, you know, it's on the Republicans to actually start pushing back on that one. That should be a slam dunk. But tons of people are running with that one on Facebook.
And also, you know, if you're fact checking the claim, then you would also have to admit that in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, there was what was it, like $60 billion set aside just for rural hospitals. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't think that the federal government should be in the business of doing that. I think if you just repealed some of the laws in place, hospitals would be able to make money on their own. If you didn't have Medicaid expansion, if you had more competition between hospitals, more different options, they would be able to run profitable businesses, compete, lower prices. That's how you would improve healthcare. But if you're of the Democrat bent that money flowing from Washington, D.C. is what's going to save healthcare, then you would have to acknowledge that Senator Collins, because she sits in the middle and has leverage over the White House and over Democrats, was able to negotiate this huge chunk of money for rural hospitals at a time where that's an issue in her state. Like, it's just not intellectually honest to blame her for the closure of a pregnancy center in Lincoln. But still, I mean, really, it seems more and more like the Democrat strategy for campaigning against her is going to be just to make up this alternate reality, which, by the way, on that note,
it's going to work.
It could work because they're already living in an alternate reality. But that clip you posted, Graham, of Representative Rana.
Oh yeah, that is insane. Yeah.
We should play that real quick. What world are you living in, lady? They've literally convinced themselves that we'll play the clip.
She's created a fan fiction of what happened. Yeah,
we got to talk about
Joan Sebastian Duran Guerrero deserved life. He was not the man that ICE was looking for. He was behaving in a cooperative and calm way. This state-sanctioned violence and terror is not just a result of the Trump administration or Republican counterparts. It is a product of American imperialism that is woven into the fabric of this country.
Okay, I'm going to let John go first because John was also talking to somebody this morning who is living in a totally alternate reality.
We have to spend 30 seconds. You know, I had a sit-down meeting with the mayor of Biddeford today, and first words out of his mouth, did your editor send you here? What? I don't understand the question. Did your editor send you here? I go, my editor knows I'm here. My editor doesn't, really, he doesn't tell me what to do. I mean, he knows I'm here. Why do you ask? Well, no other media is asking about the proclamation. I said, well, that's on the other media in the state of Maine,
Bizarre.
Thank you for affirming that we're the only credible news source in the state of Maine. It's like, and I said, I just have one question. Do you stand by the word had? And he's like, what? And I'm like, you, in your proclamation, you say the federal government had these agents come to your town, your city, and kill a man. do you stand behind that word? And he's like, I do. I said, well, then I'm all done. Thanks. That's, and then we ended up talking about other things, and it was a pleasant conversation. But, I just like, why are you asking me if Steve sent me here? And then he did ask me, well, you talk to ICE all the time. They don't talk to me. And I said, well, why would they talk to you when you go on TV and talk to members of the media, say that you don't cooperate with ICE?
And he implies we're murderers.
Wouldn't cooperate with me either.
Yeah.
So why do you think the rules are different now? So it's like a very nice man, very pleasant man, but he doesn't live in the same reality that I live in.
I like thinking that other news outfits, editors don't let the reporters go anywhere near city leaders.
It's true.
Leave them alone, team. Leave them alone.
But also, what difference does it make if I sent you there or not? Or if no, Steve doesn't know I'm here. He tells me not to go talk to Democrats.
Don't tell him.
Yeah. No, can you keep this on? This is between you and me, Mayor. This is between you and me, all right?
But, a lot of people in Biddeford in the last week, you work for Trump. Trump pays you. You're an operative of the Trump administration. Tom was there. He was there. He was probably getting it too. Like, no, we're not operatives of the Trump administration. We support what the president's trying to do here. But I don't know about you guys, but I haven't got my checks haven't cleared yet. So I mean, like, what is going on?
I've gotten my Trump NFTs.
Yeah.
Your Trump trading cards are they skyrocketing in value?
Yes. I have the gold card. I got the Trump gold card from donating $50 to the MAGA PAC. But no, again, they're living in a alternate reality. Like, granted, no one really knows what the events were that preceded the shooting of that illegal alien. If it was a justified shoot, I think that the statement from DHS would have been a little bit different and wouldn't have said threat to public safety. It would have said he feared imminent bodily harm. He thought he was gonna be killed. He was hit by the car. He was struck by the car. I think that's what the statement would have said. But the investigation will get to the bottom of what we most likely what can we know most likely happened in the run up to that shooting. But no one has asserted that this guy was being peaceful and was like, no, please, sir, and got out of the car and like sat down and was like, here are my papers, sir. Like, please don't shoot. I'm here legally. Like, no one has invented that fake reality. But somehow it's becoming just like the belief amongst liberals that Trump was sitting in the Oval Office and took the ICE agent aside and was like, hey, there's this guy living up in Biddeford in an apartment. I want you to go up there and I want you to, make sure you get him. All right. And
how dare
world that they live in.
Wire actually read the proclamation? Like, how dare I?
Right.
Like
isn't that read it?
Yeah. Isn't that our job to read it?
But,
if you're going to
also want his proclamations read.
When you listen to that clip of Amberine Rana, do you think that's someone that actually cares about America?
No.
Just get to the crux of it. I mean, she's talking about American imperialism, and she is the architect of the free rent bill, which gives non-citizens literally free rent if they want it. It's not just non-citizens.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is she's okay. If we're going to be worried about imperialism, well, how can imperialism be a force that's carrying out government activity within our borders? Like, does she even know what imperialism is, or does she just repeating these big words that she might have heard in college between bong hits? She doesn't know what it means. And also on the subject of imperialism, there's 100 million illegal aliens here. Is that imperialism? Are the hordes of illegal aliens coming here from foreign countries guilty of imperialism on U.S. soil? I would say yes.
All right, fellas, should we wrap it?
It's been a week.
I'll make more charts for next week.
I like the charts.
I like charts. Yeah. Simple.
It is Graham Pollard for John Featherston, Steve Robinson of the Robinson Report. I am Tom Shattuck. We'll see you Monday, 4 p.m. right here on Maine Wire TV.